Hey guys, this is Tom Box here. Welcome to MST.TV, and I've got a linked Spyral deck profile for you guys. It's for competitive play, of course, and this deck, I honestly think is ridiculously good, and there's not exactly too much variations on these builds, except for like the hand traps or whether or not you're running Gofus or a double summon. It's minor details that kind of change the flavor of the deck, but overall the general core basically remains the same. Rather than me showing you combos at the end of this video, I'm just going to show you some of the weird boards that they end with, and let's talk about some of the counters. And this is actually going to be counters that you guys actually suggested in the previous Link Spyral video that I put out. So yeah, these are suggestions by you guys, so let's get into this video right now, starting with the main deck profile. So we start off with triple agents. I don't like these German agents because, well, I hate bringing translations, but it's usually there so you can make Baguska, you can special summon it out to a drone so you can set up your Helix play. Basically, it's your super agent. Some people actually run tough as well, but in my build, I'm just running 3 of these. If you put this at 1, maybe the deck will suck a little more, I don't know. Now, of course, we have the broken card of the deck. It wasn't that broken until, of course, Master Plan became a thing, but this card was still pretty busted. Quick fix, basically, your Spyral Gear Searcher, summon it, it's a +1, and it's not once per turn, so there's the problem, guys. Of course, on top of that, when you do special summon himself back out of the graveyard, if you control a Spyral Super Agent on the field, you can just overlay with it and put it back into the graveyard rather than banish it. So that's, of course, a common knowledge thing. Triple Spyral Drone. The 2 cards together gives you a lot of machine dupe targets. So 6 cards for 3 copies of machine dupe. Of course, this is rearranged. This is the combo guarantee will work card because it rearranges the top card. And make sure that your opponent gets junk for the next draw, basically. 1 Master Plan. I guess these are all the one-offs. 1 Sleeper and 1 Last Resort. Although some people cut Last Resort because Last Resort was well, not really facilitating the combo very much, and kind of ends up eating up one of the pieces of cards in your initial hand. Sleeper is basically a quick effect pop 2 cards, especially with the Last Resort equipped onto it, and you'll just target yourself. Since you can't be destroyed by card effect, you're not going to pop, and you're going to pop 2 cards on your opponent's side. And Master Plan wasn't exactly very good back then because it was very hard to bring onto the field, but thanks to Double Helix, she can just be spammed out. Give yourself another search for the Spyral Mission card, and then you send her to the grave, and you'll get yourself the field spell and another Spyral monster, which kind of pushes her out of the off the top. I don't know what's more busted. Either it's the quick fix, or it's the Master Plan, or it's the field spell. I don't even know what to point at anymore, but something needs to be done about this. Now let's go into the hand traps, and because this is a competitive deck, just expect that you're going to be playing against yourself a lot, because since Spyral is the strongest card, or strongest deck of the format at the moment, well, DD Crow, so that you can eat up a card, and this card is actually searchable in the deck thanks to the rank 1 of the Lyralesk. We have Maxi for, well, shut off play, but if your opponent just happens to have an Ash Blossom Joyous Spring, this is not going to work out very well, but it is still one of the best hand traps in the game. Triple Drone Lockbird because you just want to shut them out from making any searches. Very simple. The deck search is way too much. Just look at Quick Fix and Master Plan and Terraforming. Triple Ash Blossom just to minimize the damage. There is the right and wrong target. If your opponent machine dupes you, you can use it against them, but don't forget machine dupe isn't once per turn, so they can do it again. Some people prefer to hit a guaranteed target, which would be Double Helix, but we'll talk into that later on in the video. And I'm only running, I think 8 hand traps? Or 8 or 9? 8 hand traps. Some people run 9, they include like Reaper in there. The last monster is Destrudo because I need to break field spell locks, because locking me out of the field spell does hurt, and Destrudo gives me instant access to Ancient Fairy to pop off that area, and gives me a search as well for my own Spyral Resort. As for my spells, I'm running a pair of Double Summon. You can switch these out for just Gofu, because Double Summon just extends your plays a little bit further, where you can just get a search off of a quick fix, and then you can play it, and then you can just summon the other card, which would be the Spyral Drone, and then basically set up the same combo. Just gives you additional options to set up. Although it is like inherently a -1, but then your combo kind of nets you a +5. It doesn't really matter. Triple machine dupe because I'm poor, I don't have ultis. But overall, machine dupe, if it goes off, you basically win the game. This is basically Exodia. Unless, of course, you're just that unlucky that you have most of the targets in your hand already that it's supposed to bring out. I play a pair of set rotation rather than playing 3 set rotation because I find that sometimes it's pretty dead if you're already open with one of the other field spells, like the lockout field spell, which kind of sucks. But the game shouldn't even be lasting that long to the point. But remember, set rotation is also useful for stopping evenly match. You go into battle phase, you decide to go set rotation on them. Yeah, this is how you protect your board as well. So maybe you actually want to up this to 3. And for a field spell, there's Triple Spyral Resort. That's pretty decent card. It protects your stuff from being targeted, your Spyral cards. And offers you a once per turn free search. There is a maintenance cost on this card, so just remember that you have to pay it or else it will blow up. Yeah, triple terraforming, you want to maximize your field spell searches because this is the ultimate Rhoda. Of course, you can search for any Spyral monster out of the deck. 1 Dragon Ravine and 1 Gateway to Chaos because I don't have Oracle. Zephyr once again. And this is just to put the Strudel on. Also, Dragon Ravine can also put your quick fixes into the graveyard if you just add it to your hand. And by putting the quick fix in the graveyard, you are able to basically, well, do quite a bit. Actually, it can extend your combo even further. Anyways, 2 Spyral Big Reds. You can cut this down to 1 if you don't think the games are going to last that long. And to be honest, if you're doing everything right and you can set up the board to a point where your opponent can't really counter, 1 Spyral Big Red would actually increase your consistency because you won't be dead drawing an extra copy. Remember, this is also a hard once per turn card, so you can't really activate 2, so it's kind of dead. And some of the powerful one-off cards are flex plays. 1 for 1 basically is the same as just having the full combo altogether. You just get a quick fix search the drone, and then you normal summon the drone, and you just go off from there. Foolish Barrel can put the quick fix into the graveyard, which can extend your play, especially when you have the Helix on the board or the Super Agent on the field. And Soul Charge is just busted because it's the other Exodia. And when your first Exodia fails, the second Exodia will basically just establish a board. You don't need your battle phase. You just establish so much control to the point that you bury your opponent just from sheer advantage. And as for the trap lineup, there are traps. Of course, you need that Spyral mission, and you also need only card that's actually a threat: Spyral Gear Utility Wire. You don't trip them up. This is a Wing Blast, just puts the card back to the top of the deck. Whereas this one, normally you're not going to set this and activate it because you want to shove this in the graveyard as fast as you can because it offers you the ability to special summon out a Spyral monster from the graveyard by banishing this card. Kind of annoying that this is also not once per turn, so it's got that going for it. Because Spyral, honestly, I think when Konami developed this archetype, they didn't think about how good this deck was going to be, so most like lower tier decks, they tend to have like a bit more free reign in terms of their effects, where they don't have as much cost or restrictions. But yeah, anyways, that's the deck. It's about 44 cards or 43 cards around there for the main deck. And into the extra deck. The extra deck is starting off with the double Helix, since this is the game changer of the deck, pushing it up to tier 0. Gives you a free summon. The free summon or a free search if you so desire to search a card to your hand. If you search a card to your hand, usually means this card just kind of died off by Ghost Ogre. Anyways, free summon of Master Plan, and Master Plan kind of kicks off. But even if you actually do lose a Master Plan, you can still special summon out other cards, I believe. You can summon out a Quick Fix, and then you can still push forward with more combos if you really tried it. Anyways, very important card. Pair of Firewalls, because Firewall, you eventually link it off as one of your main threats. Firewall will usually co-link with something else, giving you that bounce. Sometimes Firewall will actually end up in the extra monster zone and another Firewall pointing downwards towards itself, another copy of itself. Overall, one of the biggest threats in this deck, and it also pushes the combo even further. As you search cards and you start linking things off, Firewall will be spamming more and more cards out of your hand. So it's a very, very good card. Then we have Borrowload. Borrowload, a lot of people don't realize that you can't target this card with monster effects. That's the first thing. It also has another level of protection, which is the effect to reduce a monster's attack and defense by 500. That quick effect, just keep in mind that when you do link summon into this, say your opponent does have a bottomless trap hole, you decide to use your turn player priority because it is a quick effect. Turn player does get the advantage on that, and they can just activate the effect to lower something by 500. And yeah, and since there's no response to this card's effect, that trap hole will not be able to activate. So that kind of sucks in that regard. But you definitely can strike this off when your opponent summons it off. And a lot of people just can't answer it. With 3,000 attack, with a big body like that, and whenever this thing swings, it steals the monster. It's quite threatening. A pair of proxy dragons. I'm not sure if I do need a pair of proxy anymore, but hey, the protection is pretty nice, and it's just a generic link too that kind of helps you fuel the combo or just link into other parts of the combo. I'm running one Gaia Saber and one Ningirsu. Ningirsu is just the utility out against Spyral Sleeper. It doesn't target, it just sends stuff basically to the graveyard without targeting. I think overall it's not bad. But anyways, now we have Decode Talker and Ib. Ib's protection is very nice because Ib can protect you against Dark Hole where Proxy Dragon cannot. And Decode Talker is just very good link protection. It's just we already know how good this card is. And Ib, yeah, just look up the rulings on Ib. Ib is very interesting for the protection effect. And since you do control a lot of different types and attributes, you can pretty easily summon this card out. And with this card, protecting a Baguska is one of the most annoying things in this game. And speaking of Baguska, there's one of our rank 4s. Baguska usually comes undefensible, usually protected by an Ib, because Baguska is a walking skill drain. And funny thought, like a lot of people don't realize this, but that last line in Baguska kind of throws people off quite a bit, because even ABC players, you can't tag out with your ABC Dragon Buster. Well, you can, but you don't bring out your monsters, because while this card is face up in defense position, change all face up monster in defense position, yeah, and also negate the activated effects of monsters that were in defense position when that effect activated. So when you pay the cost, you were still in defense position, and therefore you don't get your cards back. That's what a lot of people didn't realize. But this card basically shuts out the entire turn of any player at this moment. And the other two, I am not running the Dullahan. You can start cutting things in here if you want the Dullahan so badly. But overall, I'm just running these two because these two monsters, first of all, this one is of course a fetch or excavation for a spell or trap, so you can add something pretty useful, or you can mill the wrong card into the graveyard, and this will search your DD Crow and also boost the attack upon the summoning. And the last card in the extra deck is Ancient Fairy Dragon, just so you can pop out the field spell locks and help you gain 1,000 life points, something along those lines. Very useful later on when we get the Link Rebo. Anyways, that covers it for the extra deck. Let's go into side deck. I don't really want to bore you with the details, but Triple Strike if you go first, because Strike is still a very powerful card, being able to just stop monster effects and just special summons. One Raigeki. I'm just too poor to have Evenly Match. If I would play Evenly Match, I'll play 3 copies of Evenly Match, but in the case of where you don't have Evenly Match, you can still play board wipes. Board wipes aren't that bad, especially when not everyone decides to go into the sleeper play. There's many different ways that the board can end. And I'm playing one Dragon Buster for, well, the Triple Reaper. Dragon Buster getting reaped off by cherries hurts a lot more than Double Helix getting reaped off, because that's a really big boss monster that is the biggest threat of the deck of ABC. And if they lose that, I don't think the grind game for them is very good against a Spyral deck. Next up, we have Triple Sanctum for our Artifact Engine. This is basically new D barrier. Well, it's not new D barrier, old D barrier, except that it shuts out the entire extra deck. Mainly because I can't stop my opponent from Link Summoning using D barrier. That's the only reason why this is still here. If D barrier stopped Link Summon, I would play D barrier over this anytime, because these are kind of dead draws. However, do pay attention to if you do set a Scythe. If you do have a Sleeper on the field, you can use Sleeper to pop himself to summon out the agent, and using that to pop the Scythe, which shuts out the turn. Basically, Scythe is a turn skip, and you want that turn skip to matter a lot. And finally, I have a pair of Cosmic Cyclone just for banishing, just utility for just spell trap removal. It's just mainly for going second. And actually, let's go into some of the counters that you guys have suggested. So as you can see, the boards can get actually pretty disgusting. They can set up Baguska. The plays can get a little bit stronger, a little bit weaker, depending on who you're playing against. But overall, they have the control against you before you even play your very first card. And breaking it seems almost impossible without the right correct hand. Now, there's 3 ways of breaking that. First step would be prevention via hand traps. So I'm going to go through hand traps, and then what if you go first? How do you actually prevent them from kind of breaking your board in? And what if you have to go second and you need to break their board? So what do you actually side in? And these are suggestions by you guys, starting off with Reaper Winter Cherries. If you take away the double helix, you don't have to deal with the master plan play. And when you don't have to deal with master plan, that means they don't get the double search, they don't get to continue the combo. It slows it down so that it's back to old school spirals. Now note that if you do Reaper them, you do lose 1 card out of your hand, and if they do play Machine Dupe, they're still playing Old School Spyral, and Old School Spyral plus Link Monsters still means a pretty bad time if they do set up a pretty decent board with whatever extra deck monster, whatever Link monster they have available, whether it be a Borreload, whether it be Baguska, just you name it, they can still do these things to kind of hurt you as well. So this one being out of the way. Next up, we have Ash Blossom. What do we hit with the Ash Blossom? Well, there's bad targets and good targets. Hitting a bad target would be like hitting a Spyral Resort or Terraforming, just because there are better target cards such as Machine Duplication or Double Helix if you want a guaranteed hit. Because if you hit it on the Double Helix, it just prevents them altogether from getting that Master Plan. And the Master Plan part is kind of the part where it just rolls you out. And if you do use it to hit a Machine Dupe, bear in mind that Machine Dupe is not once per turn. And if they have a second copy, well, prepare to, well, lose, because that's a second Exodia for them. And so there are good and bad targets for the Ash Blossom, so just be very careful when you do use this card. As for Ghost Ogre doesn't seem very good. There's mainly just 2 cards you really want to hit with this. Aside from like some of the stuff that they actually don't get recovery from, Spyral Resort is a pretty decent one because you do a 1-for-1 trade with them and they don't get the search. And the other one would be hitting off the Double Helix when they try to do the effect. Of course, the effect will still go through where they get to search a card into their hand, but they definitely do not get to special summon onto the field because the arrow pointing downwards is missing, or the arrow pointing left is missing, so they are unable to summon because the link marker is now missing, and therefore they don't get to summon out that master plan. They get to search a different card. But that just means that they will search a different card to reestablish that same combo. So again, it doesn't feel very like meaty in terms of like a counter, but it is not bad. It can just screw them over, so they can't establish the super big link board that just you won't be able to recover from because the control is just too good. Now, some stronger stronger hand traps. We have the Drone Lockbird and we have Max C. That's basically every single good hand trap that you can use except for Effect Veiler, because Effect Veiler targets and therefore you can't really use it when the resort is on the field. But Drone Lockbird basically shuts off the entire combo. These two are very similar in terms of the result because either they just don't go in or they can't go in. And with Drone Lockbird, without the search of anything, even when they start off with the very first terraforming search, you can Drone Lock them at that point because they can't use Spyral Resort to search, they can't use Quick Fix, even Master Plan doesn't generate anything. Even if they go into Double Helix and summon out Master Plan, they're not going to get anything. In fact, they might not even go into a Master Plan. What you're more likely to see is that they're going to bring out another super agent, they're going to summon the other agent in hand, and then go to a Baguska and just sit on it from there because they're not generating the advantage that they can, and they can't even push the combo because they don't even have the resources to push the combo forward. That's how good Drone Lockbird it would be. And then, of course, there's Max C. Max C can get countered, though, with Ash Blossom, since the deck does main 3 Ash Blossom Joyous Spring, and you only have 1 copy of Max C. So the odds of them having the Ash Blossom in hand is quite likely at the same time that you would have your Max C. But if your Max C goes through, most likely your opponent's going to basically stop their turn because you're going to destroy them the next turn. And since Spyral cards aren't once per turn, having a huge number of cards is going to allow you to push very, very hard, very quickly against them. But this would be the hand trap lineup, so if you do open with some of these hand traps, you might feel a little bit lucky, and hopefully you don't die in one turn. But what if you got to go first against them? Say game 2, you decide to go first. Sanctum and Scythe is a really good option in my opinion because it is the turn skip, shutting out the entire extra deck. Of course, without the D barrier anymore because D barrier does not stop link summoning. Yeah, Scythe is your next best friend here, and Scythe is going to shut out the extra deck, and it just hurts a lot, especially when you put it in the back row or they decide to pop a Sanctum. Yeah, it hurts a lot, and it's just swings the momentum back in your favor. So that's one of the better cards. You can even use Torrential Tribute. This was a suggestion that I looked at that seemed pretty like mediocre at the time, but then now that I thought about it, you have to time the Torrential at the correct moment. You're like, oh, but they can just go Super Agent and then pop the back row. That is true, they can do it, but then you can also chain the Torrential and basically destroy that Super Agent. But usually the Super Agent doesn't come out until later in the combo if you don't start with it. And if it comes out later in the combo, you can either do it to the Spyral Drone plus the Super Agent. That would actually knock out 2 monsters all at once, and they didn't search the car yet, so it's not too bad. But then if they do try to go into the Baguska play where they have already established their entire board, yeah, you can use Torrential Tribute to basically wipe the entire board off the field. And yeah, that does hurt too. And of course, Solemn Strike. Solemn Strike is just a very powerful, I don't really need to explain this, powerful counter trap that stops the summoning of the special summons and stop various effects. Now, what if you're going second and you need to deal with this board? The first card that comes to mind would be Evenly Matched because it is the money card of the set, and if you just go into battle phase and just activate it from hand when you end the battle phase, that basically takes care of the entire board. Sometimes they'll leave a Baguska on the field, sometimes they'll leave a Sleeper on the field. Regardless, you just use 1 card to trade for at least 5 cards, and it's banished face down, so there's no recovery. Now, what are some of the stuff that they would put on the board? Like, they could potentially put out other monsters on the board, like a Baguska. If they leave a Baguska on the field, you're not going to be able to play very much. But if you do run Gofu, you know, siding Gofu if you want, or you can go into Ningrissu. If you go into Ningrissu, you can send that card into the graveyard because Ningrissu, of course, isn't affected, and then you can maybe go into your play from there. And the whole play is basically a free special summon, so nothing to really worry about in terms of consuming your normal summon that's once per turn. Other variations of breaking the board, although these aren't as strong, we have Book of Eclipse and we also have Raigeki. The Book of Eclipse was played by the player that played Invoked. Book of Eclipse, very useful at stopping the Sleeper lock, the Sleeper plus the Last Resort. That combo, it just gives them a +2 every turn against you because you're going to be getting a heavy minus as he blows up 2 of your cards. Yeah, so by playing Book of Eclipse, you can actually detach off that Last Resort and put his monster in defense mode. And if you run over, if you're successfully able to run over that Sleeper, well, you blow up the entire board, which makes Book of Eclipse a very valuable card. And why am I suggesting Eclipse over Book of Moon? The simple reason, really, if they have the Resort on the field, you can't target it. Raigeki is also not bad since most of the Link monsters don't exactly have too much protection. The biggest protection, I would say, would be coming from Ib or, yeah, just about Ib. Proxy Dragon can't really save him from Raigeki. That being said, you're still going to have to deal with the Sleeper that's on the board that's equipped with the Last Resort. So Raigeki doesn't exactly answer everything, but what I'm trying to say here is that you need a combination of multiple counters that actually give you a turn. And hopefully after you're able to successfully counter against your opponent, you're able to kind of skip their turn because it's going to be very hard for you to kind of set up from there. And that's basically all I got for this counter play. If you guys have other suggestions for how to counter the Link play, if you guys have any other suggestion of how to counter the Spyral deck, leave it down in the comment section below. And most of these things were suggestions from you guys, and a lot of these cards have seen play in the recent tournament of YCS Dallas. And thanks for watching, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit me up with a thumbs up. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, hit that subscribe button. As always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please drop us a like so we know we are doing a good job, and you can also subscribe to MST.TV for more fantastic videos by clicking on the button on the left. Don't forget to check out our partners at Imperium Duelist. They make really high quality mats, including some of my own limited edition release stuff. And if you want to check out one of our past videos, click here on the right. As always, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV, and I'll see you next time.